Good afternoon, my conscious co-creators. Welcome to another edition of the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. No, you're not wrong. Today is Wednesdays. We are moving our show to Wednesdays. This is the first week that we're doing it on a Wednesday. However, we will have, I think, one Thursday show more before it's officially moved to Wednesdays. So you're correct. This is not our usual time. This is our new time. So I'm glad you're joining us today. Um, we have a wonderful, wonderful show in store for you with a fascinating gentleman that I'm looking forward to bringing on in just a moment. But first, of course, we still have our blog post from a couple of years ago to kick us off. And this one is entitled, "To Truly Face Our Fears, We Must Feel Them." We are all afraid of something. For some, it may not be that obvious most of the time. Others are very present to their fear every day. Different people find different ways to cope with their fear. Some just run away from it. Other people suppress it for as long as they can. Still others, probably most of us, find ways to manage it without truly dealing with it. And then there are the rare individuals who dive into it. They are so in tune with themselves that they can't bear to hold on to the fear, so they must resolve it right away. Regardless of our own individual approach to fear, ultimately, we must all face it in one way or another. For when we have a fear that we are ignoring, it is surely driving our behavior at an unconscious level. That is the truly tricky thing about fear. Whether we want it or not, want to or not, it is controlling so much of our lives. And we are not even aware of it most of the time. This is why no matter how scary the fear is, it is always better to deal with it than to ignore it or suppress it. So how do we confront our fears? We all take a different approach. Yet eventually it always comes down to being truly honest with ourselves, to be honest about what it is that truly scares us and why. It is only when we look at the fundamental reasons we are afraid that we can find. It was only when we truly look at the fundamental reasons we are afraid that we can find a way to release those fears. Maybe once we truly face them, the best thing we can do is just give them space. Hold them without judgment. Ask them what it is they truly want. Usually, when we allow the fear to have a voice, the energy dissipates. Other times, we may have to do some deep processing with a professional for those that are born out of deep trauma. The thing is, there's no one way to deal with fear. We can all find a different way to face our own fears, yet eventually we have to feel them no matter what. For the energy of fear remains in our nervous system until we actually feel it and allow it to run its course. The tricky part is not to get stuck in it and wallow in our fears. Should you find yourself in that situation, it is time to look for professional help. Most of the time, we can deal with our fears with the support of a partner or a close friend. As long as we can truly be honest with ourselves about what we are really feeling. And that is not easy. So what fears have you been holding on to? How can you find a way to face, feel, and release your fears. So I wrote this a couple of years ago, after having had an experience where my fears were very much front and center. And I really felt how much fear I was holding on to in my body. And it was extremely unpleasant. It was extremely nerve-wracking. It was very difficult to navigate. But the most challenging part, I think, of the whole experience, besides just feeling the fear, which I'm not used to feeling, was recognizing how much in my own life I allowed fear to dictate my actions. That these fears that I didn't even know were there, that I didn't recognize, that I didn't give room for, that they were underneath, running the whole show of my life in so many different ways. Maybe not in every way, but in many, many different ways. And that revelation, that realization, that was pretty tough to swallow. And it took me a while. It really took me a while to integrate and process that. And probably a good 3 or 4 months that I was raw and felt exposed and really felt off center. I don't know. It was such a challenging time because, hey, I've been doing my personal work for years. I've done all kinds of practices, engaged in all kinds of ceremonies, all kinds of things. And it was really, really hard to see and feel how much fear was still inside of me, was still running the show. So that was my inspiration for this blog post. I did eventually get through it. It was difficult. And I'm grateful that those challenging feelings came up. Now, look, do I still have fear? Absolutely. Okay. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Absolutely not. There's still lots of fear there. But I feel like it doesn't have quite as tight a grip on me as it once had. And I can recognize it a little bit more, that I can sort of notice that unconscious uh, interference from the fear a little bit more. Still more work to do? Absolutely. This will be a lifelong work. But at least I've dipped my toe in the water a little bit deeper. Maybe I'm up to my ankles now. So I don't know if this resonates with you or not. But this was just a little piece, inspired by my own journey, my own path. So yeah, so the title of this blog post is "To Truly Face Our Fears, We Must Feel Them." And of course, you can always find my blog on my personally branded website, theconsciousconsultant.com, or on the station's website at talkradio.nyc/blog. And don't forget, if you enjoy these blog posts, I do have a whole book written that's just like these called Everyday Awakening, and you can find that at everydayawakeningbook.com. All right, it is now my extreme pleasure to welcome to the show Jonathan Goldman, one of the world's foremost pioneers and authorities in the field of sound healing. With more than 45 years of experience in exploring the therapeutic and spiritual power of sound, John has helped bring this ancient practice into modern consciousness. A Grammy-nominated musician, teacher, and author, his work bridges science, spirituality, and lived experience, revealing sound as a profound tool for healing, transformation, and awakening. Jonathan is the author of several foundational books, including The Humming Effect, The Seven Secrets of Sound Healing, Healing Sounds, as well as the upcoming book Ascension Harmonics. As director of the Sound Healers Association and president of Spirit Music Inc., Jonathan has trained thousands of practitioners worldwide and created over 25 award-winning recordings that explore the vibrational frequencies of healing, chakras, mantras, and sacred sounds. Jonathan's life work reminds us that healing is not something we do to ourselves, but something we tune into. Welcome to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Jonathan.
Sam, thank you. And listen, thank you for this opportunity, and what a beautiful, if you like, cognition you did on fear before. That was really profound and powerful. Thank you for sharing that, particularly
Thank
with
you.
me, because we all have fear. And I had to acknowledge that. I wanted to share that I have a technique that is useful because we're all looking for different tools that can assist this throughout our life. And maybe I'll share one with you later, but thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I really can't believe that it's taken this long for our paths to cross for me to get you on my show. I feel like we probably have dozens of people in common, and I'm just amazed that we haven't connected before. So we just have a couple of minutes before our first break, but I'd like to just give our audience a little bit of background about, obviously music has been your passion your whole life, I would assume. But what got you interested in these early years to find sort of that intersection of music and sound and healing and spirituality? What kind of got you started on this path?
Sam, a brief story. Back in the late 70s, I'm playing in a rock and roll band,
Ah.
strapping on my guitar, stepping in from break, beginning to play, looking out at the audience, and I become aware that the ambiance of the club is one of negativity and violence. I'm going, whoa. And I realized
Ah.
that the alcohol and the other intoxicants people were imbibing was helping contribute to this negativity. But I had the thought, and I've been playing professionally for about 15 years before, and I'd never had the thought. The thought was always, look at me, aren't I great? And the thought instead was, gee, I wonder if music can be used to make people feel better. And in about a week, it shifted to, I wonder if sound can be used to heal. And all of a
Oh.
sudden, doors just began to open, and it became a brave, new, and wonderful world for me.
Wow. Wow. So you actually got that inspiration while on stage, huh? That's fascinating.
I like to say that the light of God hit me. Some people
Yeah.
call it a download, but it was a pretty amazing shift of
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something. That's something. I'm just curious, do you remember what song you were playing or about to play when that happened?
An original song that was from an album that I did called Future Stories. It was actually the world's first science fiction rock opera tragedy musical, and it was a pretty interesting thing that got, if you like, picked up by Billboard magazine as wow, it's the pick hit of the week. And somehow, through various other circumstances, I decided to literally pull it from the market because at the time I thought it
Hmm.
vibrationally didn't resonate with where my new consciousness was. And I remember my brother, who was a lawyer, said, "Oh, this is your big break. I can't believe you're doing this." I said, "There'll be other breaks. This is my
Hmm.
purpose." And
Hmm.
it was a pretty amazing frequency shifting experience for me, Sam.
I bet, I bet. Um, I'm curious, before then, did you have any kind of a spiritual practice? Did you meditate or anything, or did this
No,
really
I
come?
was a cynic. I was into rock and roll, but I was a highly
Ah.
developed psychic, and I didn't believe in it. It took me certain
Oh.
techniques and whatnot afterwards to realize, wow, okay, all this stuff that I'm making fun of and been interested in, a sci-fi freak, a comic book freak, well, this is all real. I go, oh my God, how cool is the world? So it opened up my horizons amazingly, Sam, and that was a true blessing.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk just a little bit about a little bit more about sort of from that how what you learned, the kinds of things you've seen, and what kinds of stuff you've experienced that got you, writing these books and literally training, thousands of practitioners in sound healing. Okay.
Thank you. That'd be great. And once again, fabulous. Thank you for
All
letting
right.
me.
Well, wonderful. Wonderful. So, everybody, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We are now going to be doing this on Wednesdays, though I still have a couple of shows, I think, scheduled on Thursdays. And we will be right back with our guest, Jonathan Goldman, in just a moment.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
And welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. So, Jonathan, you had this revelation on stage. You realize that there's more to this world than just what we see in front of us. You start to engage in learning more about how to use sound to help people and to heal people. What did you learn initially? Like, how did you sort of begin to find these things and learn about them and begin to actually use your music to help people heal?
Well, Sam, on a level, it was very interesting. Great question. From that experience of deciding, gee, I wonder if sound could be used to heal. Okay, this is back in the late 70s, and there were about a half a dozen different books and maybe a half a dozen different CDs that were consciously focused on using sound for healing. And I was just like a kid in a candy store because the world is replete with all this information if you can get beyond the veils that are hiding stuff. So I began to research things, and the first thing that happened about a week after this experience, I was handed a sheet of paper back when things were advertised through flyers, and it was on using sound and music for healing, taught by a workshop taught by a woman named Sarah Benson. I went to this workshop, and it was pretty great. There were probably 30, 40 people there. I somehow was chosen to go in the middle and hold a quartz crystal like this, sit in the middle of the circle. The people chanted my name. And I was basically taken out of my body, put into if you like, an amethyst pyramid in the woods, and I had this really extraordinary experience. When I came back, I opened my eyes and said, gee, I got to find out more about this, i.e. quartz crystals, and also more about sound. About a week later, I went to this wonderful meeting that Sarah actually invited me to with all these people who were interested in using sound for healing in the local area. Some of them were well-known therapists, etc., fellow who taught the only college-level course in sound healing in probably the world, Dr. Randall McClellan, the author of the...
Where was this?
Oh, this was in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Excuse me, sorry. And Dr. McClellan was teaching in Northampton College there,
Mhm.
and I think it's Hampshire. And all these different people from different areas came, and there was this incredible reading. Dr. McClellan Randall read from his unpublished book, The Healing Forces of Music, which at the time was one of the next books to come out that was predominantly using sound for healing. And I was blown away, Sam. I said, golly, this is great. When's the next meeting? This is the last one. Why? We got nobody to carry this on. We don't have time to do it. And I said, I'll do it. And so the new kid on the block, and I literally took over this thing. I had to give it a name, so I basically called it, because nobody had, it just didn't have a name. It was a group of people for you interested. I called it the New England Sound Healers, and then that became the Sound Healers Association. We would have monthly meetings, and it grew and grew just really from a grassroots level, and word of it got around, and all these different major authorities on using sound and music from healing from throughout the world would come and to my my little house, and they would attract people from all over, and they'd give lectures, and then they'd probably do workshops and stuff. So I got an incredible education, and I thought, well, this is so important. I need to get a degree. So I did if you like, a master's degree from Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, on researching the uses of sound and music for healing. And things just continued to happen. Back in the very early 70s, one of my next door neighbors, who you remind me of, Swami Brahmananda, Ed Shapiro, he and his wife had became editors for Element Books, and they said, Jonathan, do you have anything for us? And Sam, about a week before I'd been in deep meditation, this being literally gave me a download of, I said, I'm supposed to do this book, and I sent that in, and they said, great, and it just manifested, as a book 6 weeks later, published a while later, became a bestseller at the time, particularly in England and Europe. I went on tour. I was actually involved in, at that point, a PhD program, and I dropped out of that because I basically had to go on tour and sort of bring this and that. I've been sort of on tour since then, but a whole lot less.
Wow. Wow. That's quite something. That's quite something. And so did you have any sort of miraculous experiences in those early days of sound healing, of people coming with some problem or issue, and playing music or whatever sound modality you used, where they got better, that was just beyond imagination?
Yeah, I would say that for sure. And I mean, I would just say that from the beginning, get go. Uh, I remember shortly after this all began, a year or two, I ended up going to something called the Maine Healing Arts Festival in Freedom, Maine. And it took place over Labor Day, and there were probably 300 or 400 people at this thing, and dozens of workshops and stuff. And I ended up taking a workshop with a woman named Priscilla King, and she was head of the Maine Holistic Nurses Association. Sam, my father was a very well-known doctor. My brother was a very well-known doctor. My grandfather was a doctor, and I come from a family of doctors, so I was really, at the time, still totally skeptical about all this stuff. I just thought it was woo-woo. And but I took a workshop with this woman which taught basically therapeutic touch, Reiki, how to feel the chakras, how to feel X, Y, or Z, and it was real to me. And one of the things that happened during this particular experience as well is late at night, somehow I had my third eye open and blasted, and I was lying in bed with a headache, and I hear a guy going, UFO, UFO. I run outside and I see about a half a dozen UFOs disappearing into the Aurora Borealis, and that was an extraordinary experience too. But learning to feel the, if you like, energy field, because once again, being so skeptical, and here it was. And I got back to the Boston area, and I went to band practice. I was still playing in a rock and roll band, had not at that time given up rock and roll. And I walked over to my bass player, said, "How you doing?" And she was a woman, and she said, "Oh, I got a sore throat." And I went, oh, sore throat. And she looked at me and said, how? I said, well, I could feel the disruption in your throat area in terms of your energy field. But Sam, you're asking miracles. Have I seen anything but miracles is the question.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the New York Times. Sound, shaped into a dazzling tool, can make, break, or rearrange molecular structure. And the next one is, and levitate objects. Whoa. That's February 8th, 1988. Talking about ultrasound, but still it applies to sound. And if you can rearrange molecular structure, potentially, what can't you do with sound?
Wow. Wow. So there's so many directions to go. So I'm curious, like, okay, let's start sort of on the scientific side since you bring it up. So did you do any study once you kind of got into this stuff and had all these amazing experiences, like that New York Times article? Did you do any research into sort of the scientific principles about why sound heals?
Oh, yes. Okay, for sure. Yes, indeed. And basically, the idea, I'll just share that with you briefly, is that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration. This is something our ancient mystic masters have taught us, and also our quantum physicists are now telling us this, from the electrons moving around the nucleus of the body to planets and distant galaxies moving around their suns. They're all creating vibration. This includes our body. Every organ, every bone, every tissue, every part in the body has its own separate healthy vibrational rate. We are, if you like, very much like an orchestra that is playing the symphony of the self, the suite of the self, when we're in tune. But the idea of, if you like, dis-ease is that if, what happens if the third violin loses their sheet music? They begin to play out of tune, out of harmony. Pretty soon the entire string section is off. Pretty soon the entire orchestra is off. And this is akin to a part of our body vibrating out of its normal, healthy frequency. And we say it's vibrating out of ease, it is distressed, it is diseased. So the basic idea of using sound as a healing modality is to give the string player back their sheet music. So I certainly did. I investigated for quite a while. And in fact, my if you like, dissertation was called "Awakening the Lost Chord," which then became ultimately, shortly after, when my friends asked me if I had something that would be for a book, I took a lot of the material from there, and it became this book, Healing Sounds. This is the 30th anniversary edition of it, but it really focuses on a lot of the scientific work and the other things that I found. And Sam, do I have time right now? I've been engaged to do basically one very cool. All right, so the basic idea is that I'm going to share with a little bit more, but it was my realization, at least, that in terms of the frequencies that were there, that there was an element besides the frequency level that had this really, really powerful effect. And indeed, I later on wrote this book called The 7 Secrets of Sound Healing. The first secret is everything is vibration. The second secret, which I wanted to mention now, or maybe we'll come back and talk about it, is that intent is powerful. And I have this formula: frequency plus intent equals healing. And I think it applies not only to sound, but to almost every aspect of life. That the consciousness we put into something is what helps manifest its effect.
Well, you read my mind about what my next question was going to be, which was around the 7 secrets of sound healing. Excuse me. But yeah. Oh God. Okay. Let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to continue on that thread of the secrets of sound healing and what people need to know who are interested in becoming sound healers, and people who are interested in working with sound healers, like what they should know before engaging in this practice. Okay. So, everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're speaking this hour with Jonathan Goldman, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
And welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. So Jonathan, you started to tell us about the one of your books, The Seven Secrets of Sound Healing. And I was going to ask you, what are some of the most important secrets, but you've already given us. Two of them. Two of the seven. But what do you think is the secret to somebody becoming a truly powerful sound healer?
Wow, that's a great, great question, which I want to just put off for a second and just tell you two of the other secrets because I think they're so very important.
Okay.
Because first one, everything is vibration. The second one is intent is powerful. Intent is the consciousness that is put on the sound that creates, if you like, the effect of the sound. This has been validated. When I first came up with this concept, it was simply because I've been checking out the work of so many doctors and spiritual masters in terms of the sounds and the frequencies they were using. In fact, Sam, at the end of my dissertation at Lesley University, I had a pile of papers that was about a foot high, and it was different people's systems of using sound music for healing. And I began correlating them all together. And I thought I was going to come up with Goldman's Encyclopedia of Sound Healing. This is the frequency you use for this problem, this is the frequency you use for that. Instead, as I began to put it all together, it didn't jibe. You'd have spiritual master A using a particular mantra for a particular chakra, and spiritual master B using a different mantra for the same chakra or for a different chakra. You'd have Dr. X using a particular set of frequencies or a frequency for an organ or some other thing, and Dr. Y using a completely different set of frequencies. I'm going, how can this be? I was sitting there rocking back and forth in a chair, looking at this computer at the time, trying to input this stuff, and all of a sudden I hear a voice that said, it's not only the frequency of the person creating the sound, it is also the intention of the person making and the person receiving the sound. So that's why frequency plus intent equals healing. And I just think it's so important that, which then brings into the next one, which is we are all unique vibratory beings. Because in a workshop, I'll oftentimes ask people, okay, how many of you are allergic to penicillin? And about 80% of an audience will raise their hand. I say, okay, if this is the case, then if everything in the universe is vibration, then penicillin is a vibration. And for 80% of you, it's healing. But for 20%, it's toxic. And I think this is a great metaphor for so many things on the planet, whether it's a pharmaceutical, a nutritional substance, a sound, or anything like that. Not one size fits all. From my perspective, this is one of the things I've observed in my really long time of doing this work. And finally, the last one, I just have to share it because this is sound healing. But the last one is silence is golden, because we don't pay enough attention to the power of silence. And silence is often the time where the true assimilation of the vibrational healing is found, and it's also the place where we get the downloads.
Yeah. It's in that still, quiet place when we can hear the whispers of our intuition, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So now can we go back to my question?
Totally. I'm thinking about it right now because I don't have an answer. Because on a
Ah,
level, I think because we're all unique vibratory beings, what works for
mm,
one person may not work for another.
right.
But I would say empathy, having a knowledge of as much as you can of experience is always a great thing.
Mm,
Uh, the desire, compassion, and yeah, to me, compassion is probably the greatest healer that there is. In fact,
mm.
I want to share with you the words the woman, Sarah Benson, basically said to me years ago. And at the time, I was like, oh, this is such fluff. Uh, but literally, the dedication of Seven Secrets of Sound Healing is to Sarah Benson. I call her the divine mother of sound healing, who taught me that the true sound of healing is love.
Ah,
And that feels just so real and so right now.
mm,
So, what
mm,
would be a good sound healer? I got to say, first and foremost, being in that compassionate state.
mm, mm. So let's just say somebody's listening to this conversation.
Yeah.
They've gone to maybe a sound bath. They've
Hmm.
experienced something. They're like, this really resonates with me. I want to learn how to do this. What would you recommend, like first steps for somebody who wanted to learn how to cultivate this form of healing?
Nice, Sam. Thank you. Okay, I have a book that I co-authored with my wife, Andy, and I got to just hold it up here. It's called
Yes.
The Humming Effect,
Humming
and
effect.
it's an award-winning book, and I love it because well, just this month in ARP magazine, which I get for, I'm at the age, there was an article by a doctor on how to reduce stress, and one of the things was humming. And I thought, great,
Mm,
finally, it's being picked up by mainstream, but the hum is actually an extraordinary tool that people can use. There are two ways that sound can affect us. One is called psychoacoustics. That's where the sound goes into our ear, into our brain, affecting our heart rate, respiration, brain waves. And this is fabulous. But the other way, which the Times talked about, in terms of making, breaking, and rearranging molecular structure, is, if you like, called vibroacoustics, where sound goes into the body. So I have a tuning fork here. I'm holding it to my ear. This would be psychoacoustics, the effect of this. But if I hit it and I apply it to my body, this is vibroacoustics.
mm,
And they're not independent of each other, but you can, if you feel stuff in your body, that's vibroacoustics. If you're hearing it mostly, you're wearing headphones, it's psychoacoustics.
mm,
And the hum is the most powerful vibroacoustic sound that we can make. Among other things, and this is just a handful, you get a lowered blood pressure and heart rate, which is incredible. It's a fabulous stress reducer. If you like, we were talking about fear. If you start almost like you remember Yul Brynner in the sound, not the sound of the King and I, and they
King
had
and
a
I,
song
yeah.
called, I whistle a happy tune, and every single
Mm,
time the happiness in my tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Well, the hum is actually on a level even better than that, and you get
mm,
lowered heart rate and respiration. You get the release of melatonin, reduction of stress-related hormones like cortisol, release of endorphins, those fabulous self-created opiates that work as natural pain relievers. You get the increased levels of nitric oxide, which is not only a vasodilator but also an antibacterial agent, the release of oxytocin, and you get increased heart rate variability and vagal toning. All this from just doing what we call a conscious hum. So
mm,
Sam, I've been through the plethora of mantras, harmonics,
mhm,
ooh, Tibetan deep voice chanting. I've done it
mhm.
all. And this is one, I was looking for a sound that everybody could do. And it is, if you like, a gateway sound that leads to all sorts of other aspects. In the in the Hindu tradition, there's something called yoga, the Yoga Sutras. And sutra by a fellow by the name of Patanjali, who wrote about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And Sutra 1.27, this is Goldman's soundbite of it, is the original sound of creation was pranava or pranava, the humming of prana. The humming of prana. They had to give it a name, so they called it Om. So the Om is the child of the hum. So yeah, and then the ah is a great sound too.
Is there is there any kind of sound practice that you do every day, or
I actually do humming every day.
okay.
And once again, Sam, I'm. It's so wonderful and so powerful. And once you start doing it, you'll experience it and feel it. If you like, we can do it with you right now. If you like, if this is appropriate.
Sure. Would
Okay.
love to have you do something
Okay.
for our audience.
Okay. Just I want to give you really quickly what I call the protocols for this for conscious humming, and it's really easy. First, yeah, you have to take some nice, deep, and relaxed breaths, which is basically the basis of all different things. The next thing is that you want to hum on one note. You want to hum at a comfortable pitch. You want to hum for about 4 or 5 times. We'll do just 3 times just to feel it, because notice the difference. And then you want to basically be in silence for an equal amount of time. So you got to keep your lips closed, because if you have it open, then it's ma, which is not a hum. It's different, and the vibroacoustic energy goes out.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I want to just, if you like, with you, and once again, humming at a comfortable pitch, and you don't want to do the William Tell overture either. Just So first we begin by just taking a nice deep breath, and as we're taking a deep breath, let's check ourselves out and see where we're at. And breathing out. Just another moment of taking a breath in. And now with this one sounding forth with the first of the wood sound, we'll just do 3 hums in a comfortable pitch. So you ready? And another. And just one more for the moment. And now, being in silence and just checking yourself out for a moment. And not wanting to have too much dead space airtime. But at the same time, Sam, did you feel anything there?
Oh, absolutely. It felt grounding, relaxing, centering.
And that was perhaps we did that for less than a minute, and
Yeah.
yet it has physiological stuff that you can feel and spiritual stuff that you can go on. So it's a great tool that everybody can use, regardless of the tradition that you come from. Humming is universal. It's one of the first sounds. Babies do it. People do it unconsciously.
Yes.
You hum when you're happy. So it's just a great tool to pass on to people. So if nothing else, I'm really glad that we're able to share this with you and your audience today. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely something I'm going to use with my clients next time. Okay, we're going to take our last break of the show. When we come back, um, I'm going to ask you about sort of the other side of things, like anything you should be careful of if you engage in sound healing. Because, I've had friends who've gone to these sound baths and it was too intense for them and too much for them. So I want to talk about sort of the things to be careful of when we come back, okay?
Great.
Wonderful. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we'll be right back with our guest, Jonathan Goldman, to finish it all up in just a moment.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
And welcome back. So, Jonathan, we've been talking about all the benefits and the kind of the miracles of sound healing, but not every experience is necessarily a good one. In terms of, like, I know people who've gone to some of these gong baths, these sound baths, where the practitioner plays the gong really, really loudly. Now, I've experienced this myself a couple of times. And it's been a very beautiful experience, but I know some people have a really hard time with it, and it was too much. So I'm just curious, like, what words of caution would you have for somebody who's interested in sound healing? Like, what should we be careful of?
Great, Sam. Well, thank you. That's brilliant because I don't like to talk about that stuff, but I see it all the time. And in the Seven Secrets of Sound Healing, basically one of the things, not only that we're unique, all unique vibratory beings, but it's that louder is not better. And if you take into account that aspect along with silence is golden, you need time also to assimilate the sound. I've seen people in situations where their energy field is cracked open by the sound, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, goodbye, and they're to the middle of a deep transformational experience. When we would teach for 25 years or more the Healing Sounds Intensive, which was a 10-day training, we had 10 therapists with us. And it went on for close to 10 days, and it would go on for 10 hours, and it was really powerful. We had 10 therapists there were about 100 people, because when you're going through transformational experiences, and sound is a powerful transformational transformer, you need to be able to assess it. Just too many people will get an instrument without the experience of training, etc. So thank you. That's so very important. So be careful. Once again, we are all unique vibratory beings. If something isn't working for you, you're feeling an adverse experience, the sound is too loud, leave. It's okay. Right. And these people need to know that, who are doing it, because sometimes they're just unaware. It sounds cool to them, but they're not aware. They don't have the experience of resonating with somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I know. I got and I'm not a sound healer by any stretch of the imagination, but I did get a small set of crystal singing bowls.
Yeah.
And working with them, every time I work with them, I learn a little bit more, a little bit better of how to work with them, of how to create the sound that they create, which I find so beautiful, but I also find for some people it can be a little too much.
Totally. Or tuning forks or anything, it's so interesting. Any sort of music, louder is not better, more is not better. Right. We are in the States. I have the biggest, loudest gong, or biggest, loudest drum. And it's like, yeah, that feeds your ego, but is it necessarily feeding the needs of the person you're working with? Very
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
Some people are very fragile. Some people are like a tree. With either is good, you know.
Right, right. Some people are just naturally more sensitive than others, and some people are highly sensitive, and they're going to be much more feeling the vibration and the sound much more intensely than others. So they have to be careful.
Sam, I'd like to suggest that one of the things with the we are all unique vibratory beings and the whole penicillin, if you can get to the 80% mark in terms of having a sound or something affect people that way, that's great. This stems back from the 1930s when a guy by the name of Carl Seashore founded this psychology of music. And he basically handed people what are called semantic differentials, which meant they would have to fill out a form to tell people how the sound or the music affected us. And what he found even back then, it was only at the best about 80% of the people would be affected one way, and like 10% would have an adverse reaction to the music or whatnot, and 10% just wouldn't have any effect at all. And I think that's a pretty good metaphor for everything that goes on in the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if someone's, do you still train practitioners, by the way?
Well, I do and I don't. Just through my getting back to the Seven Secrets of Sound Healing, just a couple of weeks ago, finally, working with Hay House, who was the publisher of that book, I went to a recording studio back in the fall and did the audio book for the Seven Secrets. And as I'm doing the audiobook, Sam, because I hadn't read it for a while, and I'm going, wow, this is a great training for people. So I want to suggest that if people, it's a really short book, it's a short thing, and yet it's full of information and facts, and not trying to make it complicated, but just once again, you take it turns out that the first of these four, I call them the four pillars of sound healing, are also the first of the seven secrets, and the other ones too. It gives people a really great training. I have to. The book is 20 years old. There's nothing that is out of date because I've always been a bit of a visionary, if you like, and it's really, really good. So I really highly recommend it, and that's on. It's on Audible and all this other stuff. Amazon, you can find it.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, yeah. So the Seven Secrets of Sound Healing is, if someone's interested, that's a good place to start.
And also on our website, which is healingsounds.com, we've got classes, information, all this different material. So that's all very fabulous.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'll make sure that gets into the show notes. And you have an event coming up you'd like
Yes, we
people to
do.
know about. Tell us about it.
Coming up pretty soon, it is called World Sound Healing Day. It is the 24th of such events. So this is the 24th year this has happened. It happens on Valentine's Day. And we have a website which is worldsoundhealingday.org. And there are literally different events happening on Valentine's Day throughout the planet. There's literally a map that you can go to, everybody doing sound baths to performances, etc. So it's composed of two different things. And the other one is an event from 11:30 to 12:30 New York time, which we call the Global Unified Heart Activation. That is the attempt to at least culminate the largest number of people intoning the sacred heart sound of the Ah at approximately noontime, and that'll be tracked by the Global Consciousness Project, which is out of initiated out of Princeton, New Jersey, out of the university, and it's able to literally track events of high compassion. And here's the big do. What makes something a World Sound Healing Day event? Basically, if it's done with the energy of compassion, kindness, gratitude, and love consciously. And then the idea is that we can make a sound all together. And this is very biblical in nature. And this sound, when we work with the Ah sound, which is oftentimes the sound of the heart chakra, we work with the Ah sound, and we send it to what I call the Gaia matrix, which one could perceive of as the field of our planet. And the idea, look, we know now through all sorts of different things, through ancient spiritual traditions and through a lot of modern quantum physics, that we're totally all interconnected and that there is a field around our planet. This field is a living matrix of energy, and we really need to be conscious of how we feed this field. And on February 14th, a day of love, we project a sonic Valentine to the Earth Mother to create, if you like, a ripple in the field and perhaps create a little bit of evolution in the planetary consciousness of all sentient beings. And once again, through the Global Consciousness Project, you can see these events of high compassion being tracked, and they look like, if you like, random number generators, which are the vehicle that the Global Consciousness Project is able to track their events, will generate zeros and ones, an equal number of zeros and ones, unless an event of high compassion comes, and then the numbers become more askew, and they can be tracked. So 50 zeros and 50 ones out of 100 creates a flat line, but a difference in them creates a line that is tractable, graphable, and looks like a little bit of a mountain, and you can see when the event happens and when the peak of this field happens. So there's something going on, and it's really important.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. So that's worldsoundhealingday.org for people to join. That's wonderful. I highly, highly recommend it. One last question before we close up. With all your years of experience, do you still get surprised by some of this stuff?
All the time. And sometimes it's just really simple things. Yes, all the time. In fact, I find everything so very, very surprising on, the planet right now that we're living in. Sam, we're living in an extraordinary time of shift and change. And I like to say we heal the planet, we heal ourselves. We heal ourselves, we heal the planet. We have a choice and we can make a difference. And I think we're right at a really time and space point, flux point of, some shifts and change happening. And we can be co-creative. And by being co-creative, we can work together and make a change. We have a 1+1 phenomena if we're working together, and we can solve so many of the problems that exist if we work together. And if we create divisiveness, it's problematic. So I'd like to suggest that we can work together. We can use sound and consciousness to create a new and better world.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Jonathan, I could speak with you for hours. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for the show. If people want to learn more about what you do and how you do it, where should they go to? Which website?
I'd say thehealingsounds.com. It is the oldest, largest sound healing website, and we have another one to blow people away, which is the Sound Healers Association. That's an association of sound healers that occurs. But go to healingsounds.com. Lots of free information, downloads, etc. Because my purpose here, Sam, is to basically help, if you like, awaken people to the power of sound for transformation and healing. And I want to thank you for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule for coming on the show today. I truly, truly appreciate it, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you, my loyal listeners, for tuning in each week. Without you, there is no show. We so appreciate you. And don't forget, if you did miss any part of today's show, you can always catch the replay on talkradio.nyc and on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find the Conscious Consultant Hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. We will talk to you all next week.